There are 6 stages in a human's being life, and it all starts when they're born. And then when they're born, they grow up to be toddlers. And as a toddler, they start being aware of their surroundings. The thing they do, that's when they're children. And then they become the bratty, rebellious, talking back to their mothers when they're teenagers. And then they become the staying up at 4 in the morning, drinking coffee and getting that essay done when they're young adults and young adults. And then there's when they are getting married and having kids and owning a house and paying bills and buying a car. That's when they're adults. And that's when they're having grandkids, staying at nursery home. They're probably getting Botox because they have wrinkles. That's when they're elderly. Each human being goes through 6 stages of life. The most important part in every human being life, because without this part there will be no foundation on the rest of their life, is when they are teenagers / young adults. Society nowadays creates a difference in legal rights between young adults and teenagers. Between the ages of 18 and 21, America makes it appear to be a big part of adult life. For instance, when you're 21, you can go out and drink, whatever, adopt a child. When you're 18, you get to go vote, and you're legal. That's like every teenager's biggest dream is to be legal. However, new teenagers, meaning 13, 15, and 16, bring opportunities to the teens. Now they're able to do many things like driving. They get to pay adult prices. They get to, get a job. What is opinionated amongst young adults is, you're sick, in a group of 20-year-olds, you're 16, you're too young for everything. Well, what is the misconception in America is the fact that teenagers can have just as much fun as young adults. Difference is when you're, 18 to 21-year-old, you're in America, you're not legal, but some people go behind the law's back, and they get to drink, they go out and party, because they are adults. They don't have their mom saying no, whatever. Yet teenagers, they can't just go out. They need, the mom permission. The mom's picked them up. They have a curfew. They can't drink, they can't smoke, but maybe they can go bowling. They still have the same amount of fun that young adults have. According to Emma Carr in her article, Age of Licensure Monitor Driving, she states, many parents support minimum licensing age of 17 and older was considered in-vehicle devices to extend their supervision of teenage driving. Which means that parents, of course, have trust in their teenagers with driving. Which means, because in most states, at 21, you have the basics. Like, you don't need no restriction or anything. In all states it's 21 years old. In most states it's 18. But most parents do trust their 16 and 17-year-olds to be driving, since they are mature enough, just as young adults, to do big things like driving, per se. So that just proves that teenagers, of course, have not the same right, but they could be looked at as a younger. They are technically almost being young adults, considering that they're 16 and 17, almost about to be 18, and then older, where they get to, do as not have the same fun. It's just with more leisure, because they don't need their parents' approbation, unless they're still living under the roof, like my situation. So Denise Ronaldo's article, Know Your Rights on the Job, states, Cody Hunter, 17, was taking part at a display as part of his job in craft store when a piece of metal shelf crashed down on his head. This relates as into this. The thing that teenagers and young adults have in common is the fact that they can hold a job. The young adults, majority of young adults have jobs due to their degree. You might go to college and major in psychology and become a psychologist, versus when you're 16, you just need money, to buy ice cream or to pay for your Apple Music subscription. So you work at a McDonald's or Cups but that just shows that teenagers are trusted enough, to have a job to look after themselves. Because, for example, when me myself, when I started working, I started paying for little things. I started paying for my movie tickets, and I started paying for, I finally got Apple Music. So I started listening to all the kinds of music I wanted. Eventually I started paying for my own car insurance. I bought my own car. So teenagers should start being looked at as mature adults, considering they could have the same things as young adults, despite the age gap. Because when you're 17, you are not looked at as a 21-year-old, but you could have some stuff that 21-year-olds could have. In Tracy's Toomey article, The Minimum Legal Drinking Age, she loosely talks about the history of the minimum legal drinking age in America. How at one point it was 21, then they backed up and they raised it to 18, and then 19, and then 20, and eventually went back up to 21 years old. In her article, she states, the minimum legal drinking age has raised debate over the past several decades. During the 1970s, many states lowered the minimum legal drinking age from 21 to 18, 19, 20. However, as a result, studies showing the lower minimum legal drinking age were associated with increase in traffic crashes. State-level movement began in the later 1970s to return minimum legal drinking age to 21. As mentioned, the difference between being a teenager and being a young adult in their 20s is, of course, the drinking and clubbing. That's probably the only fun that teenagers can't have in America. The drinking part. I mean, there are, at 18, you are allowed to 18 plus club, but as you know, of course, as a 16, 17, 15, 13-year-old, you may go to Chuck E. Cheese for a party, and that's probably the fun that you could have that's equivalent to a 21-year-old going to a bar and drinking. So, the reason why the minimum drinking age was lowered was because of these teenagers drinking, and they're going out of hand, and they're getting into a car accident. So, basically, if the legal drinking age was 18, we would have all these little teenagers drinking, because they're getting to the age, they're getting closer. Because as of right now, these kids, these young adults, they're 18, 19, 20, they're getting to 21, so they're slowly starting, to take a shot here and have a tequila there and have a daiquiri there. They're going out clubbing, so they're having a little bit of taste because, they're about to be 21, so it's fine. Rather, if you did the drinking age with 18, like in most other foreign countries like Mexico and Italy and Dominican Republic, you have all these kids drinking, and then that will slowly mess up their mind, and then that's where the trust and the maturity will be lost. So it's a good thing that the minimum drinking age was set at 21 to help these teenagers, mature quickly. They're not focusing on drinking; they're focusing on, like high school sports and, who's talking about who and who's not friends with what. The high school drama the teenagers have to deal with. So that's fine. Regardless, though, teenagers have many rights. No, many rights do start at teenage age. It just happened to end at 21. For example, when you're 13, you get to, make all these social media accounts. You don't have to lie about your age no more. At 15, you can rent a 15-rated film. At 16, 16 is the best age to be in America. 16, you can start driving, you could get married with parental consent, you could, if you're really sick and tired of your parents, you can emancipate, you can move out if you'd like. At 18, you could sue, you could vote, you can move out on your own, you could have a tattoo and piercing without your parents' permission. And, at 21, you could go out and drink, party, you can go to Vegas and gamble, you could even adopt a child, and some rental car companies let you rent cars. You just have to find a really good one because it's usually 25, not 21. The foundation of a human's life does start at teenage age, which is pretty funny considering that older people think that teenagers are way too young when they're not, because like I said, each year that passes you get to do much more things. Like I said, from one age you can rent a movie, to another age you can start driving, to another age you can vote, and the other age you can start drinking. So knowing this information that teenagers could just be looked as young adults as well, because different. Because at one point of life you're in high school, you're practicing for football every day, your mom's cooking dinner every night, and you're sleeping by 10. The other life you're in college, you're eating ramen noodle, you're having 10 page essays due at once and you're willing to go out and party instead of sleeping in, and you're sleeping at like 5 in the morning. Therefore, society can hold both stages of life accountable to be entertaining, whether or not teenagers are often looked at the young ones compared to being 20. Yes, the age gap is noticeable, but like mentioned, the foundation of life do start at the teenage age, so it was kind of hypocritical to jab fun, to make fun of teenage. Just because you're 20 doesn't mean you can't hang out with a 16-year-old, because they could have as much fun as you can. Maybe not like that much fun, considering that their parents probably at home like wondering, like, and texting them every 5 seconds, but there shouldn't be no reason why teenagers shouldn't be looked at or hang out with young adults.